my phone overheated. So, part 2. These should be in sequence. Now, Kaivago, as far as your question on what would Alex and Adam say if I got them on camera, well, I don't know. I know all of what Alex has told me, and there's things that his sister has told him that he's told me. And it's not bombshell shit, it's the same crap you hear everywhere else. But I can't put words in their mouth. And just because he said it's okay that I mentioned his name doesn't mean he wants to talk about it. Now, Adam, on the other hand, fellow Louisianian, boat captain, awesome individual, hell of a guy, total asshole on staff though, hated to work with him, hated the guy, hated his guts, sometimes, not all the time. But Adam was a very upstat individual, and a kakan most of the time. A kakan is somebody who's untouchable. And the reason he was untouchable, and, you know, I'll let him speak for himself in due time, because I am going to contact Adam. Before he went off to Brazil to work, I drove down and saw him. I was only able to stay for 20-30 minutes, but it was worth the trip. He's back in Louisiana now, so and I owe him a song because well, I just do. Adam has no fear. Okay, it's similar to my situation. All right, I don't care. I'm not afraid of Scientology. I'm not afraid of the OSA. I'm not afraid of ex-Scientologists trying to hack my accounts. Good luck. Really, good luck. I'm just not, I don't care anymore. I did live in fear for quite a while. That is why most people don't talk about it. And this whole Melrose thing that happened that no one is talking about, I feel very much alone. I do feel like nothing I say can actually be verified. So that's a shitty feeling. But I'm not going to make anyone, I'm not going to try to coerce anyone into speaking. I've had people tell me, well, why don't you just go on and move on with your life? And I have. But here's the thing. Just because I've moved on doesn't mean I have forgotten. Just because I have forgiven doesn't mean I have forgotten. And the issue that I have is that this still happens to other people. Now, I'm not saying people who aren't talking about what happened to them are wrong or in some way immoral for not having feelings about people who they don't know, who are experiencing similar fates that we did. Those people will learn on their own, in their own time. And I mean, that's how it happened with us. So I don't have any I don't hold any judgment over people for not speaking out. But for me personally, because I have always had an interest in the inner workings of the mind, the brain. How does the brain work? How do people do the things they do? Why do people do the things they do? This is why I was a psychology major in 1999, and this is why I'm a psychology major today. What makes people do these things? How can people be so cruel? You know, after the Nuremberg trials, there was a lot of research done about how someone could be so cruel, because in the Nuremberg trials, the doctors, the scientists, people experimenting on other human beings in such a cruel and horrible way, a lot of them answered similarly, we did it because it was our job. And so the Asch conformity experiments, the experiments on authority and obedience to it, explained a lot of that type of behavior. But when I look at Scientology, that's what I see. I see Nazis. I see an organization that has modified this agenda that was similar to the Nazis. I mean, the Ubermensch is an OT. You know, I mean, Homo novus, new man. This is similar to the Ubermensch. Luckily, Scientology hasn't taken society by the roots like the Nazis did in Germany in the 1930s. But that doesn't change the fact that it exists. And just because they're not their own sovereign country, sovereign nation, and have a thriving ideology of hate and bigotry and control and pseudoscience, doesn't mean that they're any less evil. And having been part of something that evil, knowing the evil that exists within it, still is there and hurting people, personally, I can't not say anything. That's me. So I appreciate everyone who watches the videos big time, because it verifies and it lets me know that what I think about Scientology and the fact that I even talk about it still, it doesn't make me crazy. It doesn't make me stuck in the past, because I don't feel stuck in the past. It's just, I just can't fathom that this organization still gets a pass, you know? And I also, there's only a limited amount of benefit, in my opinion, to simply telling your story. I've told my story. Okay, it's not dissimilar from many others. In fact, my story is really nothing in comparison to some others that have lived it for 30 years plus, and that still live it. So once you get that out of the way, like, why am I still talking about it? Okay, well, because it's important to me that people see, not hear. You see with your eyes, you hear with your ears, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. The Louis Theroux Scientology movie was the closest thing I saw to being on staff, only in the small portion of the film where they're doing TRs. That's it. And it's hard for me to describe it in words. You have to see it. You have to see the interaction. See how socially different it is. It's so different. Being on staff, interacting with int terminals, interacting with executives, interacting with each other. There is a distance that's created between every single person, yet everyone is together. No one really thinks on their own. It's a group thought process. When you make originations, and this is pretty much a derogatory term, an origination, which is a thought of your own. That origination will be acknowledged in some form or another. Hopefully, if you're lucky, it's not acknowledged with ethics handlings. Because those can get really complicated. And what ends up happening when you do originate and you do end up in a complicated ethics handling is that you're coerced into admitting things that you either did or imagined that you did in this life or past lives. And if you could just imagine the list of horrible things a human being could do to another human being in this life or in past lives, then it's easy to see that when you have an original thought, an origination, the technique used in Scientology is to blackmail you to get you to stop having original thoughts. So, without seeing it and just hearing it, and just hearing the stories. Oh, that's so messed up. I can't believe that happened. They separated their daughter from their mother. They separated their grandmother from the grandchildren. Yeah. What is this, some kind of freak show? I mean, do we really care? Or do we just want to hear the fucked up story? It's kind of like watching, another cult documentary like on Jamestown or the Moonies or something. It's like, it's a novelty. And that's disgraceful to me. It should be disgraceful to anyone who ever worked for a church. In my opinion, it should be disgraceful because, you should feel disgraced because, you were part of it. And if you see someone else talking about it as if it was some sort of a freak show novelty, and people on YouTube and people on television and in the news and in the press talking about, look at what this crazy shit Scientologists believe and what they do. I'm all for it, okay? Don't misunderstand. I want to make it very, very clear. I'm all for it. Publish as much as you can on how crazy Scientology is. But understand that it is not just some novelty. It's not. This is happening to people every day. There are people suffering right now. There's people in ethics right now. There's people who are sitting there doing TR0 all night long, haven't slept, because they didn't meet a quota or some shit. Because they talked to a girl. Because they wanted a relationship. Because they walked off pack base for 5 minutes and their senior didn't know where they were. I want to know what happened with Jason Lee. He's in Denton, Texas right now. That's 4 hours away. Why did he leave? He was at the Melrose Mission opening. Hey, Jason. Celebrities live in a bubble when they're in Scientology. Ethics don't apply to them the same way. I don't care what they say. Oh, yeah, I've been in ethics. Yeah, okay, sure you have, buddy. Yeah, you've been in ethics. You've had to write your OWs. You've done conditions. They've got dirt on you for sure. But you also were able to have some semblance of a life because you were providing money to the organization. You were contributing far and above and beyond what me, a lowly staff member, could do. So you got what we call libs. You get your libs, you get to go hang out with your friends. You get to make art and music. Beck, I shook your hand, bro. And you get to go out and make all this amazing music. And get your auditing and talk. And it's essentially just therapy for you. Tom, same thing. You get to do whatever you want. You get free reign, man. But there are people suffering. I have bad days. I've had real bad days. I mean, I had, on staff, I had the worst day of my life, and it almost ended. Since then, I've had other bad days. But I have learned that the emotion that you feel when these things happen, they tend not to last as long as the human mind thinks. If that makes sense. In other words, when you feel depressed and you feel suicidal, let's say, it feels like that pain and that suffering will just never go away. And you gotta, end it. It's almost like it's a scab you want to just rip off, blow your head off, hang yourself. It took a lot of therapy for me to understand that those feelings are very temporary, and it took a lot of reading of the Tao and some other literature, the Buddha Sutras and other great writings. The Art of War, great book. I try to live my life by those principles. So for those of you who consider me a non-believer or whatever, I'm not. I was raised Catholic, so I, had the... here, you want to see? If this insignia means anything to you, okay? To me, this is just an insignia. It's just... This is so that people don't hassle me about my beliefs, because my beliefs aren't conventional. They never really have been. I don't know what happens when we die, and anyone who tells you that they do may have had an experience of their own. I mean, I've left my body before. I've been, and perhaps that's just a hallucination of consciousness. I don't know. But in studying the Buddha Sutras and studying Buddha and studying Lao Tzu and Sun Tzu and other yogis, other philosophers, Alan Watts, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, just great thinkers. I no longer look at the world the same. So when I feel these reprehensible emotions, I know that they are temporary. But I do feel them. And luckily, I have some skill and some what I believe to be genetic a genetic disposition to be able to play music. It's just something that's come naturally to me in my life. It was confirmed when I met my brother. The human genome hadn't been fully decoded, but before the human genome was decoded, I met my brother, and that was all the proof that I needed that genes played a factor and had a huge role in development of the mind and the body. Most of my biological family are musically inclined. So luckily I have a way to sublimate, which is to deal with emotions in a positive way. There are many ways you can deal with emotions. You can displace them. You can, oh, my psych teacher would not be happy with me right now, but I get a pass because it's 4 in the morning, and I woke up from a dream, and I just decided to go take a drive. So, and I'm, you know, this is a little stream of consciousness kind of thing happening. But you can do things with your emotions, and displacement is a very unhealthy way to deal with it. You know, you get mad at something, you're upset about something, you kick the dog, or you cut yourself, or, you know, you harm yourself, or you harm other people. I had some pretty negative emotions last night, and I just went and played my piano. And I wrote a pretty emo song. It's just not, you know, it's not a very happy song. But I was able to work through those emotions with it. And that's a lot healthier than some of the other alternatives. So, people who are concerned about my mental health really need not be. There's a time for everything. You can't be happy all of the time. It's just not the way of the world. I mean, things happen. We're human beings. We have feelings. Sometimes our feelings are not good. And to try to always feel happy is a good goal. But whenever you find yourself in a predicament or in a position emotionally where you don't feel comfortable, there needs to be a way to sublimate and to get those emotions, work through those emotions and experience them without harming anyone, including yourself. And that's what I learned in therapy. And as far as my beliefs go, I think that Jesus was great. I think that Buddha was great. I think that Lao Tzu was great. I think that Alan Watts was great. I think that Sun Tzu was great. There are many, many great people in our human history who have given us immense insight into the nature of who we are. L. Ron Hubbard was not one of them. I did stand-up comedy the other day, and I talked about Scientology, and afterwards the guy who was doing the introductions, you know, the hype guy, he was like, "Oh yeah, little bit of wisdom from my homie L. Ron Hobo." I thought that was fun. So yeah, I think I've made it clear what I want to do. And I completely understand anyone who may be watching under some alias account that doesn't believe me, or doesn't think that what I'm saying happened, or that I'm just looking for attention, or that I've got issues outstanding that I need therapy for. But you can think what you want. My goal is to show, so that people can see what it's like. Maybe I'll be done after that. Maybe that'll satisfy me. Because at this point, that's what I've been looking for. I want to see someone show what it's like. I don't want to hear the stories. That's why I don't watch the Leah Remini show. Maybe I should. Maybe there are reenactments. But if they aren't authentic, it would just piss me off. But I am tired of hearing the stories. I'm tired of hearing the stories. The stories don't get me wrong. I have empathy and sympathy for everyone who's been on staff and everyone who's been, a victim of Scientology. And I am interested in what happened to them insofar as that they need to get it off their chest. They need to talk about it. But what I'm not interested in is this proliferation of Scientology stories for the sake of novelty. And wow, what a fucked up cult that is. Not interested in that. Not interested in holding my content back and holding it back and just releasing it in tiny little morsels and trying to get views and trying to get popular based on the fact that I was a Scientologist. I could give two fucks about that, okay? I want people to see. A picture is worth 1,000 words. What would an entire video of seeing what it's like being on staff show people? What kind of response would that elicit? I'm not a Hollywood producer. I don't have thousands of dollars to spend on a project like this. So I'm going to do it the best that I can. But I will say that the best that I can is not bad. I've done 4 records since I moved here. Audio is half of what makes a good movie. Did you know that? You could have a great movie, a great script, and great acting, but if the audio isn't there, no one's going to really connect to it. Music and audio and being able to hear what's happening, the nuance is crucial. I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not a videographer. I'll be shooting this shit on my phone.